In Germany, a program helps migrants overcome their traumatic experience at sea. In Lagos, South Africa closes its consulate over xenophobic attacks. We'll have a live update. And seeing actor Harrison Ford is making grown men cry. We'll explain why. Africa 54 starts right now.
Good evening, I'm Vincent McCory. This is Africa 54. European Union officials are facing tough decisions as thousands of immigrants from Africa and the Middle East continue their dangerous voyage to the shores of Italy's outer islands. Italian Prime Minister Matteo Renzi says the EU must help children, or rather shoulder the burden of curbing migrant trafficking in African countries after as many as 900 people drowned Sunday when a ship capsized in the Mediterranean Sea.
This is an issue of human dignity, and when we talk about human dignity, we need to be brave enough to say that the Italian priority in this moment is to have Europe back in a political role with a capital P. I consider the calling of the Extraordinary EU Council on Migrants a positive thing, but obviously it's not enough. We are aiming at a strong conclusion paper. We have proposed 4 strategies. The first is to strengthen the European rescue operations.
Well, Mr. Renzi made the comment Wednesday in remarks to Italian lawmakers in Rome, a day before European leaders are to hold an emergency meeting in Brussels to discuss the crisis. Members of Parliament also had a moment of silence to honor those who died in the accident. Authorities say it is the Mediterranean's Middle East rather deadliest migrant disaster. There were only 28 survivors. While migrants fleeing violence and poverty in Africa, the Middle East and Asia face a long list of odds to reach the smugglers on the Mediterranean coast. Next, they are subjected to life-threatening trek across the sea in rickety boats to reach Europe's shores. Those who make it are often traumatized by the experience. VOA's Latissa Hook tells us about a new program in Germany that helps survivors overcome the trauma.
The Kukula initiative in Berlin gives refugees and asylum seekers the opportunity to build furniture from planks of wood dismantled from the boats on which they escaped. The program has given new hope and confidence to a group of young immigrants who fled their homes in Africa and arrived in Germany after crossing the Mediterranean Sea from Libya to the Italian island of Lampedusa. One of them is this 23-year-old man from Mali.
I cannot forget the boats because I lost 4 friends in the waters. They could not swim, neither can I. I could not help them.
But making a useful object from the remnants of the boat from which he was picked up and taken first to Italy and then to Germany eases the pain of that memory, he says.
I think it helped me a lot. I can make a chair from those small pieces of wood. That is our story.
An immigrant from Nigeria, still speaking Italian, expresses a similar sentiment.
I feel good because this is also my story and I will never forget it. I too will die, but I will have left my story behind.
And another one from Niger.
This is meine Geschichte von Lampedusa.
This is my story of Lampedusa. It comes from my heart, and I can't forget it. I would like other people to be able to tell their story.
German Chancellor Angela Merkel was one of the European Union leaders who spoke Thursday of the critical need to stop the smugglers from turning the Mediterranean Sea into what some people call a graveyard of the world's desperate.
Firstly, we must and will do everything to take up and continue the fight against traffickers who expose people to danger and death in an inhumane manner. Secondly, we will need to focus on overcoming the causes of people fleeing. And thirdly, and this is the most important issue these days, and I think all of us are moved by this, we will do everything to avoid victims continuing to die in the Mediterranean Sea, on our doorstep, in the most agonizing manner.
Dass weiter Opfer im Mittelmeer vor unserer Haustür.
Humanitarian groups say more needs to be done for migrants who survived the journey.
Die Politik wird das nicht alleine.
The situation cannot be solved solely through politics. We need to adapt a social response too, through new ideas and a willingness to live together.
Anders zusammenzuleben.
The Kukula initiative has raised about $130,000 for this furniture project. To support the cause, organizers are selling 100 of the chairs called Bambino, which can be ordered in small or large sizes, costing between $140 and $270. The goal is to help immigrants develop skills aimed at rebuilding the self-confidence that many have lost while seeking asylum. Zlatica Hoke, VOA News, Washington.
Well, the South African consulate in the Nigerian city of Lagos remained closed on Wednesday following protests against a wave of attacks on migrants in South Africa. The consulate announced the closure on Tuesday, and South African media reported that it was likely to remain closed until Thursday as a security precaution. There were also protests outside the South African High Commission in the capital, Abuja. At least 7 people have been killed in the latest wave of anti-immigrant violence to hit South Africa, which began almost 3 weeks ago in Durban, a coastal city in the Zulu heartland. African governments, including Zimbabwe and Malawi, repatriated hundreds of their citizens from South Africa last week due to fears of further xenophobic attacks. Now, for more details on the consulate situation in Nigeria, joining us on the phone from Lagos is journalist Cynthia Are from our partner Channels TV in Lagos. Hello, Cynthia.
Hello, Victor. How are you today?
I'm fine. And now, how bad were things in Lagos in front of the consulate such that it prompted the closure of that office?
Well, the protests were more intense in the capital. As you rightly said, the capital, that's in Abuja, that's the head outside of the consulate and South Africa High Commission. So in order to avoid or to contain the situation, they had to shut the consulate down for at least today, between today and tomorrow, because if we see protests surface in Lagos, I can let you know for certain and firsthand that it will be a lot more intense than what we anticipate or what we saw in Abuja. So in order to avoid that kind of situation, that's why it was closed.
Yeah. Now, why has there been such a reaction by Nigerians in Nigeria as compared to perhaps other African nations?
Well, the question should be why should we not react? Why should Nigeria not react the way we have? We're seeing these attacks that are somewhat senseless because if we're going to be fair, South Africa also has businesses here, and the big ones. I can actually drop some names. I'm talking MTN, MultiChoice, for instance. And these big wigs when it comes to business were very quick to condemn the attacks because they knew that if they lost Nigeria in terms of business, it would be a very big deal. So we're seeing a case of Nigerians working in South Africa and potentially being attacked when we're not attacking the South Africans who own the big businesses here and saying they're taking our jobs. No. People are clearly upset about what's been, and they're also seeing the situation of the South African government handling the situation with kids' gloves. And instead of attending to it immediately, instead, we're seeing the government pushing against reprisal attacks instead of, curbing the situation. Now, I mean, on Sunday, what we saw happen with the Mozambican who was stabbed to death.
Yeah.
So people are very upset in Nigeria because we feel like our own brothers are being killed over there. But we're not, South Africans are not being killed in Nigeria.
Cynthia, has there been any official response from the Nigerian government?
Any official response or complaints? Yes, there has been a response, several responses since last week. Lawmakers, senators, the Minister of State for Foreign Affairs, they've all responded. The Nigerian federal government has done its own response as well. We've seen all types of responses. In fact, I would say that Nigerian authorities responded a lot quicker than South African authorities.
Well, Cynthia.
That's true.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Cynthia. Cynthia Ari of Channels TV reporting from Lagos. Now, a newly released report by the Committee to Protect Journalists has listed the 10 countries where the news media are the most restricted. Topping the list are Eritrea and North Korea. The report reveals that these countries harass and imprison journalists as well as censor the internet to keep reporters quiet. VOA's Daniela Schreier has details.
Being jailed is what happens to journalists in the 10 countries cited in the CPJ report. China is the report's leading jailer, with 44 journalists behind bars. And the CPJ cites Iran as using mass and arbitrary detention to silence dissent or force exile. With 200 journalists worldwide jailed this year alone, Courtney Ratch of CPJ says it's a perilous time to report.
The past 3 years have been the most dangerous on record for journalists, with record numbers of killings, of imprisonment, and based on CPJ's assistance data, more than 400 journalists who have been forced into exile over the past 5 years.
Internet censorship is a key weapon to stifle criticism. In North Korea, only the political elite have access. In Cuba, bloggers must upload from foreign embassies or hotels to get an unfiltered connection. China's 642 million internet users face what's called the Great Firewall, which blocks dissenting sites and social media.
Censorship is a very powerful tool. I mean, it does restrict information flows. In order to bypass censorship, you often have to have highly technical skills, what tools to use, what techniques, and also how to keep their sources safe, how to keep their broader profiles safe.
The Arab Spring movement led to crackdowns in Eritrea, where the government scrapped plans to provide mobile internet for its citizens. Since the Arab Spring, Saudi Arabia has amended press laws to prevent the publication of materials that contradict Sharia law or undermine public order. State-run media are often the only source of information in the 10 countries on the list. Ratch says the report's publication lets journalists and citizens in these countries know the world is watching and cares. Daniela Schreier, VOA News, New York.
Well, illegal small-scale mining has been a problem for years along Ghana's Gold Coast. But as the search for the valuable mineral continues, the environmental damage could soon be irreversible. Africa 54's Mel Bailey takes a closer look at one village's quest for gold.
Galamsey, or illegal gold mining, is sweeping across Ghana, and the phenomenon is moving farther up north, destroying rivers and farmland, a problem which leaves locals and some members of government asking, are we getting richer or poorer?
When you look at the law, the framers actually anticipated artisanal mining, artisanal small-scale mining. They did not anticipate the kind of mining, illegal mining that's going on. They thought that people would use simple implements, people would use their local knowledge to just dig and pan and get their gold.
Local people feel illegal gold mining is their only option to earn a living in areas where farming is impossible year-round. They risk their lives and wreck their land, but for some, being a Galamsey gives hope to the future.
I struggled. I was not getting the gold, so it was a big headache. Till God, being so good, one day, we met a stone, and then we cracked the stone, and it was full of gold. So we sold it there, and I used my money to buy this motorbike. The remaining money, I invested it in my children's education.
Some feel the problem is out of their hands and that there is no real solution.
Yeah, government has heard of that, and even the police are aware of that, and they sometimes chase us, they arrest us, but because we know that, there is money in Galamsey, we can't see a stop to it. Unless the government find a particular work for us, employ us in some work, then we can work and earn a living. Then I think Galamsey will stop. But other than that, I don't think.
With the wealth that has come from illegal mining, land degradation has followed. Osman Rahman of the GDCA says his NGO is working to help the affected communities, but insists that with the emergence of illegal mining in the north, the problem is only getting worse.
In some places, you find that their farmlands are completely taken over by, these miners, and therefore it means that they have lost their livelihoods.
The Minerals Commission, in conjunction with the Minister of Minerals and Natural Resources, says that the solution lies in legalizing the practice. So far, they have implemented ways to educate small-scale miners about mining and have enforced legal repercussions for those who refuse to legalize. But as for the environmental effects, the Commission says that those are the saddest outcomes of the phenomenon.
I think government is looking for resources to really try and rehabilitate the areas that have already been impacted. I think we cannot renege on that. I mean, the environment is more important than what has happened, particularly for the future generation as well.
As illegal miners dig deep to find a source of income, rivers are running dry and time to put a stop to environmental damage is running out. This is Mel Bailey for Africa 54, Tamale, Ghana.
We want to know what you think about Africa 54 and the stories we cover. Join the conversation on Facebook. The address is Africa 54. Check out our headlines 24/7 on voaafrica.com. Coming up, celebrating Earth Day. Stay with us.
I am Sheka Sali, host and senior editor of VOA's international call-in talk show, Straight Talk Africa.
Today we'll examine the tobacco industry.
We pretty much touch on anything that you can think of. Politics, health issues, human rights issues, you name it, we talk about it. The issues that we discuss are pertinent to most people on the African continent. A very, very rare and unique opportunity to interact with their leaders.
I wanted to present music and a side of American culture that is most important to me, that is a part of who I am. They're going to get some incredible performances. That's one of the things I love, bringing these artists in so you can get to see them do what they do. It's soul music, and that's what music is. It's that which comes from the soul.
Well, following the attacks by the Islamic militant group Al-Shabaab on Garissa University in northern Kenya, in which over 140 students were killed, the Kenyan government suspended the license of the Dahabshil Money Transfer Company and another 12 companies which offer money transfer and forex services that are mostly used by Somalis. Now, the 13 are suspected of financing the Al-Shabaab terror group. Dahabshil is one of the most important transfer companies across the wider Horn of Africa region. To tell us more about what impact this is having on their business, I'm joined by Abdirashid Douale, Chief Executive Officer of Dahabshil. Mr. Douale, welcome to Africa 54.
Thank you very much for inviting me to your studio here. Well, first of all, I condemn what happened in Garissa. You know, this terrorist attack that killed innocent people, whether they are Somalis or Kenyan, we're all the same. And for us, Dahabshil, you know, we work with the community in Kenya. Legal way, you know, we are licensed company.
This is what happened. Once they suspended your license, along with the others, under the so-called anti-terrorist kind of act, they said your company and others needed to come forward within 24 hours and prove that you are not a conduit through which terrorists transport their money or channel their money to those activities. Did you provide proof?
Yes, our lawyer in Kenya has immediately wrote to the police inspector general and share with them all the relevant policy that we have, what system we have, you know, how we work globally. You know, in the US, we have a Dahabshil operation here where money can go anywhere, you know, legally. In the UK, we operate nearly 126 countries, including 40 African countries that watching us today. Only Kenya is where our operation has been affected.
But 2013, you had trouble in Britain. They had the Barclays Bank, with whom you're working, said they're going to suspend also doing business with you for the same accusation that your company is used for money kind of transfers or laundering for illegal purposes. How did that end?
Well, just to correct you, Barclays Bank were they suspended nearly 200 accounts of all the money service business. It was not about the license. Here, the Kenya is different. In the UK, it was a bank saying, I don't want to have a relationship with 200 companies who are licensed in the UK. What Kenyan did is basically they suspend all the remittance companies, which is unfair. You know, If we have done something wrong, yes, we will have accepted. But we haven't done wrong. The Central Bank of Kenya audited us a few months ago, gave us, green light and say your system is okay. We work nearly 126, including US, UK, other European country, Africa, 40 African country, who were legally and transparent way operations there.
Have you faced challenges in the United States where also there was a targeting of similar companies, the same remittance companies?
No, we have a license here in the United States. Our operations, you can send money today from Washington, D.C., Virginia, only to Kenya. And that's why we're appealing to Kenyan government to obviously review. And our system, we have, I think, credibility to prove them that, we don't want any terrorists to use the Habshil. We have a client, Kenyans in Kenya, who rely on our service, not only Somalis. We bring millions of currency to Kenyan. We work with the United Nations, humanitarian agency, use the Habshil. Alternative will be money going underground and terrorism getting underground, less transparent way. And that's why we think company like the Habshil should operate a transparent way, regulated way that we have done through the Central Bank of Kenya.
If you can make it really quick. Has anybody abused your system? Not you, but somebody without you knowing. Have you ever discovered anything that would suggest some people may have tried to use it in a negative way?
Some Kenyans say what happened in Garissa is equivalent of 9/11. What happened in 9/11 was that those who did 9/11 used American banks, American institutions. But how Americans reacted was not they did not put all the Saudis, all Saudi company, all Saudi airlines, all Saudi business on a list. They did not. They specifically targets those individuals. So what I'm asking the Kenyan is that, what happened, to be honest, is that all the Somali companies, whether they have a good system or not, whether they're licensed or not, all of them has been put on a list. And we're appealing to Kenyan government and say, well, let us not be divided by terrorists. We want to work with the Kenyan government. We want to help Kenyan use the Habshil. We want Somalis to use the Habshil. We want international organizations to use the Habshil like they have done before.
Thank you, and we hope your conversations with authorities there will bear some positive results. Mr. Duale, thank you very much for joining us today. Abdirashid Duale is the Chief Executive Officer of the Habshil Money Transfer Company. Well, today is Earth Day, and this past weekend, Mary J. Blige, Usher, and No Doubt all took the stage on the National Mall here in Washington, D.C. to celebrate the day. VOA's Larry London was there to chat with performers and participants in the day-long political rally and music festival.
Rock band Fall Out Boy was among the performers at this year's Earth Day concert. Lead singer Patrick Stump said that activism on environmental issues matters for generations to come.
We have to leave this place in better shape than we came into it,
Will.i.am of the Black Eyed Peas hosted the event. He told the audience that it was the world's poor who would suffer most from climate change. Talking to the Voice of America, he said he hoped his Earth Day message was getting through to the thousands of people in the crowd.
There's beautiful people out there in the lawn, and you're hitting them with awesome issues and, facts about what's going on in the world. And some of them are paying attention. Some of them just want to come to a concert. A lot of them want to take selfies.
Pete Wentz is the bassist with Fall Out Boy. For him, the important thing isn't the Earth Day event, but what comes after it.
More than just what happens on Earth Day and this celebration and this concert, it's what we do the day after that and the month after that.
Will.i.am said that was the measure of whether the concert was a success.
We're doing our best, and those that are listening, hopefully we inspire them to whisper it on to folks when they go home.
For VOA News, I'm Larry London.
Well, it's time now for a short break. Still to come on Africa 54, their excitement is contagious. How fans are showing their appreciation for the new Star Wars trailer. We'll be right back.
هو عبرة لكل جماعة مارقة لا تأتمر بأمر الشعب.
Of the police to tell them a good party. Make sure that
Hamilton Live is a live audience performance. With live music, you have that interaction. There's nothing like getting that immediate feedback from the folks that you're performing to. They feel it and they respond back to you. You see it in their eyes. You know that you're connecting with them. Like if any form of communication, it's that response that you get back.
Welcome back to Africa 54. Here's what's trending. Seeing Harrison Ford reprise his role as Han Solo is making grown men cry tears of joy. Enjoy this compilation of Star Wars fans reacting to the latest Star Wars The Force Awakens trailer.
Solo! Yes!
Chewie.
Han?
We're home.
Jesus! Woo! Oh yeah! Woohoo!
Chewie. We're home.
Well, the new Star Wars teaser has generated so much excitement, it's already given Disney stock a $2 billion boost. Well, next up, be honest, what do you think of your phone's GPS? Well, it tends to work great until you hit a big city. You may be noticing that tall buildings block satellite signals and that GPS drains phone batteries. Now, a California company has developed a new technology that turns your phone into a navigation device similar to what's found on a submarine. A PatSense cord allows a phone to use 90% less battery power than GPS, giving people the ability to run location services on multiple apps like Facebook, Twitter, and a dozen others at the same time without draining battery. The technology is still in the startup phase. Stay tuned. And that is our show for today. Be sure to watch Africa 54 on our website at voaafrica.com. For more news, tune in to VOA's evening radio show, Africa News Tonight, at 1800 UTC, and in the mornings to Daybreak Africa between 0300 and 0600 UTC, Monday through Friday. Thanks a lot for watching. And from all of us in Washington, have a good night.
Music is something that brings people together.
Music educates, it motivates, it's a bridge.
Music. Ali.
On
VOA.
I am Shaka Sali, host and senior editor of VOA's international call-in talk show, Straight Talk Africa. The issues that we discuss are pertinent to most people on the African continent.